So I want to tell you all a story about a client that came into my office a number of years ago. And the first thing they said to me was, I don't want to do this consult. I know that you're here to just sell me training. So that was literally the first words out of her mouth when I met this person as she walked into my office. And so it did throw me a little bit, as you might understand. But my response was, well, I'm not here to help you. I'm here to help guide you. I'm here to answer your questions. And whether you want to buy personal training or not, that's up to you. But we've booked this time together. So why don't we make it valuable? And so she agreed to that. And I took her through the consultation process. And at the end of the consultation, we got to the price presentation. And she said to me, when I presented the options to her, she said, you know, damn you, like I really didn't want to buy personal training, but now it just makes sense. And I said, well, that's up to you. Here's your options. She ended up getting started with this personal training. And this was a number of years ago in my career. She ended up getting started with personal training. And I passed her to one of the trainers on my team that took very good care of her. And this client renewed for 3 years with their personal trainer and kept training. And then even after that, I had left that gym and I was working somewhere else. And this was like 10 years later. I walk into a gym for a workout, and who do I see but this particular client? It's a different gym and it's in the same neighborhood. And I run into her, I see her, I give her a big hug. She remembers me. And she comes up and she says, I want you to know you changed my entire life. She said, when I met you, I was just trying the gym out. I just wanted to get, a little bit fitter. And I started with personal trainers, and I'm still working with a personal trainer to this day, 10 years later. And I've been featured in Oxygen magazine for women over 50 that are fit. I've competed, and my entire life has changed. My work is easier. My kids don't annoy me as much. My relationship with my husband is better. And she said, I really need to thank you for challenging me during that consultation that we did to do the right thing and get started. And so I wanted to start with this story for all of you because, doing a consultation that converts, a lot of times we see this as like sales strategy or sales sharks, and there's some sales in it. But when you have a really strong consult, the impact that you can create in people's lives magnifies. You can create behavior change. You can create psychological change, and you can help people get started with personal training. And the reality of it is that it just makes sense to get personal training. So you're just helping to facilitate that process. And we'll talk about that a little bit at the end, but it just makes sense. So why not help facilitate that process? Okay. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about consultations that convert. Okay. And so I'm going to share my slides here with you for a second. We'll be popping on and off the slides as we go. But I want to start by giving you the rundown of everything we're going to cover. Okay. So the rundown is, why should you optimize your consultation? What is needed in a good consult? And what a good consult needs to have in it, or what it needs to have present, and what a structure of a winning consult is. And then, as I mentioned, we'll do some Q&A at the end there. Okay. So let's start with this. Why optimize for having a strong consult? A lot of trainers just think, well, I've got a consult. I do it. If people want to sign up, they'll sign up. Right. And so, they're basically signing up clients that have walked into the gym looking for a personal trainer, and they're, doing a consult and they're signing them up. Those people walked in wanting a personal trainer. There's not a lot happening there. If you optimize your consultation, you can fill your client roster easier, right? So you do less work, you get more clients. This is going to allow you to do a little bit less work and get more return on your effort. But it's also going to allow you to create a waiting list. Every personal trainer should have a waiting list. If you keep your lead generation, your funnel, and your consultations going, you should be able to create a waiting list. Any personal trainer can do that. Number two, this is a career skill. Okay. So if you're in fitness, in health and fitness, if you're a personal trainer, you're going to need to do consults for the rest of your life. So why not nail it down? Why not get good at it? And this is a skill you can rely on for your entire career. 20, 30 years later, you're still relying on this strong skill. Okay. And then the last piece is creating impact. Just like that story I started off with there, is that there's going to be a lot of people that come in for a consultation. They're not thinking about getting a trainer. They're against getting a trainer. They're not sure what the heck's going on. And you're going to empower them to get started and do something. And that's really going to change a lot of lives if you do that. And so this is why we want to optimize our consult. Okay. So what does a good consult need? Strong consults. Okay. You need to have the right mindset. So I'm not going to go into the mindset of sales and all that today. I will do a topic on that on another time, but I just want to briefly touch on having the right mindset. When you do a consultation or you're speaking with a client, having the right mindset is like so important. Okay. And when I say the right mindset, here's the mindset I'm talking about. It's having the belief in your product 100%. Having the belief that every single person that you meet, yourself, the people in the office with you, the people walking down the street, everybody would benefit from working with a personal trainer or coach. This mindset has to leak out of your pores, because when people look in your eyes, they can tell if you believe that or not before you even open your mouth. So I'm not going to go into more depth on that. I will another time. But that's integral to doing a good consult, is the 100% belief in what you do in your product. Okay. A strong consultation increases trust. Okay. That's a really important part of it. Right? We want to make sure that we're increasing trust. There are strategies within sales and consultations that decrease trust. So examples of that are using guilt on the client, using shame, high pressure situations. All of those will decrease trust in the long run, and it will ruin your reputation. It will not lead to long-term like valuable sales. And so we just don't want to engage in that. So it's got to increase trust. The third thing is it increases perceived value. So touching on perceived value quickly is you always have the product or service and then what the product or service is perceived to be worth. And the example I love to use is like a purse, a Louis Vuitton purse. You know, the sum of the parts and the labor, it might be like $40 or even less, but the perceived value is what people pay for it. So people are paying $1,500, $2,000, $2,500 for this product. That's the perceived value of the product. So when we do our consultation, it doesn't matter what the sticker price is. We need to raise the perceived value during the consultation. Okay. And the last point number 4, is that a good consultation creates psychological change within the client. So we want to change their thought process, and we're going to do that in a step-by-step way. Okay. So these are the 4 things that a good consultation needs. It walks a client through changing their mindset. Okay. So we'll go on now to the actual structure of the consult here. So here's your crucial steps for the consult. Oh, my image got messed up here. That's okay. You understand. So here's the structure of the consult. Okay. So there's 5 crucial steps. And now these 5 steps can take a lot of different shapes and form. So I saw my Good Life friends on there and my independent friends and Movati friends and all this stuff. You know, a lot of the consults you're being taught are including these 5 steps in some way. We just want to make sure we nail the theme of these 5 steps. Okay. But no matter what you're doing those types of big box gym consults, you're an independent, you're selling an online program, you're meeting on Zoom. It doesn't matter. No matter how you're selling your product or service, these 5 steps need to be present in your consultation process. So step number 1 is rapport. Step number 2 is setting big goals. Step number 3 is method. Step 4 is need. And step 5 is presenting solutions. I really wanted to lay this out in steps because of the fact that it is steps. You can't jump someone from 1 to 4. It's just not going to work. And that's what we talked about when we're talking about creating psychological change. You can't force someone to think differently. right? If someone has different political views than you or different views on a certain subject, you going up to them and arguing with them that they should see the world different, it's just not going to work. If you want to create change in someone's thought process, you need to take them through a natural progression in which they actually change their own mind. You are feeding them the questions, the realizations, the proper steps that they actually create change within their own mind. You're not creating the change, they're creating the change. You're this there providing the catalyst for the change. These 5 steps, if done in this order, provide the catalyst for people to change their mind from going from, I'm just going to do it on my own, or I'm just trying the gym or whatever, to you're right, I should get a trainer and I should engage a coach so that I can get what I want out of this process. And that's why they're laid out this way. Okay. So that's what we're going to go through today. We're going to go through each of these 5 categories there. All right. Okay. And so I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I'll come back to this. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the first step is rapport. Okay. So the first step is rapport. And so I put this in there because I thought it was super important as the first step. And the reality of it is that, people don't buy services or products. They buy the people that represent those services or products, right? And so whoever the spokesperson is for the service or product really impacts the success of it. And that's why you have, when people get canceled in the news and things like that, sales take a hit for those companies, right? That's the reason for those things. Right. So you are your service or product in the most case, or if you're, a fitness manager, maybe you're selling for your trainers on your team, but that's your service or product. And so building rapport and trust at the beginning of the process is really important because they're buying from you. They're not buying the product or service. And so I had an experience in my own life where, I was in a store buying a TV, believe it or not, of all things, I was buying a TV. And it was just really poor customer service. And so I Googled on my phone where else I could get the same TV for the same price. I walked out of that store, bought the exact same TV somewhere else because the sales guy was really rude. And I'm not going to give them my business. Right. So I bought the exact same product somewhere else. And so most people are in that realm to some extent. They may not leave the store, but they're definitely going to buy the person. Okay. And so that's why it's important to establish rapport. All right. And so how can you establish rapport effectively? How do we do that? Establish rapport effectively. I'm going to share with you, I think I had a slide on it, but let me double check. I'm going to share with you 3 simple techniques for building rapport at the beginning of a consultation effectively. Now, the other reason that we need to build rapport is that this is a personal experience. Okay. So personal training, I guess I don't have a slide on. Personal training is a personal experience. Okay. Not just because of the word personal, but because you're dealing with people's bodies and their minds, right? So you're dealing with things like they don't like their love handles, or they, feel self-conscious about a certain aspect that they can't run properly or play sports well, and there's a lot of psychology behind that, right? They may have years and years of history going on behind that weight gain. They may have years and years of history of people making fun of them for the way that they run or whatever. And you don't know that going in, but it's a very personal thing to talk about your body, your performance with a stranger. And so if we don't increase trust at the beginning of that consultation, then we're not going to get really good connection. We're not going to get real answers from someone. And chances are we're not going to be able to effectively make the sale because we don't have the real information there. So if you've gone into a consultation and you've got to setting big goals and people are saying to you, well, I just want to maintain. Well, I don't really have any goals. Chances are we have not built trust because nobody spends money to show up to a gym. Nobody takes the time to book an online consultation. Nobody takes the time to seek out and talk to a personal trainer when they don't have something they want to achieve. It just doesn't happen, right? They're just not telling you what they want, right? And so that's why we have to build trust. We want to get some real answers there. All right. So let's talk about some rapport or trust building strategies. So the three that I'm going to give you here today, number one is creating safety. Okay. So what are good methods for creating safety? People feel safe when they understand what is happening during this process. So it's like the door might be open if it's a male-female relationship, or, you've explained ahead of them how long it's going to take, where to park, how to get in the front door. When you come into the consultation, you say, here's the rundown. Here's what we're going to be doing together over the next 60 to 90 minutes. And you're going to have a chance to answer all your questions. We will do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. When you explain the process, it's not really about the P's and Q's or the nuts and bolts. It's about creating safety. So people they feel like, okay, I feel good in this environment. I feel like I understand what's going to happen over the next 60 minutes. And it allows them to relax. So enough information to feel comfortable creates safety with people. And then sharing a little bit about yourself, because they're like, this is a real human being in front of me. And so that helps create safety as well too. Okay. So that's our first strategy, is creating safety. Strategy number two is finding common ground. So people love themselves, whether they admit it or not. And so they like people that are like them. And so here's an example. I'm Canadian and I'm traveling, let's say I'm in Ireland, and I bump into someone, they have a Canadian flag on their backpack. What do you think happens immediately? Like, oh, how, you're from Canada, I'm from Canada. Where are you from? Da, da, da. This person is a stranger, and now you have an instant connection because of a symbol, right? And that's just a natural biological process, okay? It's a psychological process that we're like, hey, we need this comfort. So finding common ground helps people relate to each other, and it helps create rapport. And so as you're opening your consultation, you are going to find some areas of common ground, and they need to be genuine, but if you try hard enough, you can find it, right? So it's like, you went to the same type of school, you played the same sport growing up, you know people from the same country, you speak the same language, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Your sister does the same job as them. It doesn't matter. You're going to find common ground if you get to know that person. Approach them with curiosity. If you approach them with curiosity and think to yourself, I really want to understand who this person is, you'll find some common ground. Okay. So we're going to find a little bit of common ground right in the first 2-3 minutes. Okay. And the last strategy is you can layer in either humor or genuine compliments. Okay. So humor helps people relax, and usually making fun of yourself is a good way to go. So it shows that you're like, I'm a human being, I'm humble, and, make it genuine and light, not too serious. And it helps people relax. Or humor about anything, it helps people relax. And then you want to compliment people. Again, we just said, whether people admit it or not, they love themselves and they like hearing about themselves. So if you can find a way to genuinely compliment them, then that's going to help them build rapport with you as well too. So people can tell if you're a cheesy salesperson. So if you're like, it's a fake compliment, it's really going to come off. But again, if you're curious and you really want to get to know people, you can find something you like about everybody, right? Like, everybody has great stuff. Maybe it's their hair. Like, I'm jealous of I can't see who it is, but the guy with the ponytail, he has nice hair, and I haven't had hair for a long time. So I'm a little bit jealous of his hair. So I'd compliment him on his hair, right? Or maybe the job they do is really hard, and so maybe they're really smart or whatever. You can always find something to compliment people on. Okay. So those are our strategies for building rapport. We're going to take the first 5-6 minutes and just apply those strategies and get to know someone and make them feel safe. When we do that, the rest of the consult is going to go much, much better, because it's going to be genuine. It's going to be a connection. And I'm going to continue to do that throughout the consult, but it's really important in the beginning to get ourselves off the ground well. Okay. Now, there are other strategies you can use. So there's concepts like mirroring, where you're mirroring body language, mirroring their language. There's NLP, which uses language to build rapport. These are more advanced concepts, and they work, but I don't think you need them to be successful. If you wanted to go down and do those types of trainings, they'll totally help you. I've done some of them, but I don't think you have to do them to be successful if you just use the strategies that I just laid out for you there. Okay. All right, let's move on to our next step, setting big goals. Now, I know I have a slide on this, so let's jump back into that, and I'll just show you the slide, and then we'll go through them each together. Okay, so setting big goals. What does big goals mean? So when I say big goals, I don't mean the size of the actual goal they're trying to achieve. A lot of people assume that that means, well, they have to put on like 40 pounds of muscle or lose 100 pounds of body fat or increase their PR by like 50% or something. And that's not what big goals means to me. To big goals means to me means emotional goals, something that they're emotionally tied to or psychologically tied to. So it's not about the numbers, it's about the life desire. Okay. When I used to do a lot of training on consults, I used to use the example of, let's say a woman's coming in and she wants to lose 10 pounds and get toned, right? And a man comes in and he's older and he wants to lose 50 pounds, right? But the man came in to lose 50 pounds because his doctor told him that his blood pressure is high and his wife's been bugging him. So he joined the gym to appease them. The woman, she's going on vacation and it's a destination wedding, and she's going to be on a bikini in front of her friends and family and then stand up there and get married. So although she only wants to lose 10 pounds and he wants to lose 50 pounds, to me, the woman has the bigger goal because she's more emotionally tied, more psychologically tied to the goals. So when I talk about big goals, that's what I'm talking about. Okay. So it's about what is the life that they desire? So if a young guy comes in and he's 18, 22 years old and he wants to drop weight because girls think he's a loser and they ignore him. And so he wants to lose weight. And so he'll get attention when he goes to parties or clubs or things like that. Right. So what does he actually want? Does he want to lose weight? No, he wants attention. He wants to feel validated, right? The losing the weight is the method to do that. So we have to understand where that's coming from, right? Another example might be, someone comes in and they have back pain from sitting at work all day, and they want to help get rid of this back pain because it's bugging them all the time, so that they can play with their kids and not have to sit out on soccer practice, right? So what do they want? Do they want to get rid of the back pain? No, they want to enjoy time with their kids. They want to be there for their kids and enjoy those experiences. So that's what we have to understand, the psychological and emotional side of the goals, because that is what really is driving people, not the numbers. The numbers, we're going to do it, but what we're really looking for is these other things. Okay. So hopefully you've taken a picture of this slide, because we're going to go through these. How you do that is we help them visualize the goal, we create a future perfect, and we prioritize. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing that and we're going to chat about that. So how that looks is that the first step to doing that is helping someone visualize their goal. All right. So if someone comes in and I'm doing goal setting with them, I want them to be able to visualize the goal. And what I need to do in order to help them do that is ask enough questions. So that's my only job here, is asking questions. Okay. And so when I say visualize the goal, if I said to you, okay, I want to lose 20 pounds, can you visualize that? If you don't know anything else about me, you're making too many assumptions, because where do I want to lose the 20 pounds from? My neck? My belly? Right? So it's just not specific enough. So in order for me, as the person that doesn't know this goal, to be able to visualize it with them, I have to ask follow-up questions. So the follow-up questions comes like, okay, great, you want to lose 20 pounds. Is that, like, I'm assuming it's body fat, or you don't care, you just want the weight down? Where do you want it from? So I'm just going to continue to ask follow-up questions until I feel like I could draw a picture of exactly what they want. That's what the visualization means. I want you to try something right now. I want you to pretend you're going to tell me what your kitchen looks like. Now, what did you all just do? You just pictured your kitchen in your mind, didn't you? Okay. So what do you think's happening when I ask the client to explain their goals to me? They're picturing themselves there. They're picturing themselves in that goal. And the more questions I ask, the more they picture it. And that's what I'm trying to do, is create that emotional tie to the goal. So you're going to ask a lot of follow-up questions. I usually ask like 20, 30 questions about this, depending on the person and how open they are. And you can ask questions based on their last answer, right? Someone says, okay, I want to build muscle. Great. How much muscle do you want to build? 15 pounds. Okay, great. 15 pounds of muscle. Where would you like to see that? You know what I mean? Like, we just keep going on that last question. Or you can ask questions to describe it more in detail for you. What does that look like to you? What does that feel like to you? right? So anything that's a describer question, look, feel, what is that experience like? And that will give you more information. So asking questions about the last answer and asking describer questions will help you stay on that question train until you feel like you can draw. Now, the one thing that I get here that I want to address is that you say, okay, we were talking about weight loss and muscle gain. What if someone has a performance goal, right? They want to lift more weight, or they want to, be the star team on their star player on their soccer team. Same idea. What position are they going to play? Like, could I draw them? Which position am I drawing them in? Do they want to be the MVP of their team, or they just want to be a good player? Are they playing amateur, or are they playing professional, right? Like, for me to be able to accurately draw that picture, I need all those details. So it works the same way with performance goals as well, too. So that's step number one. We're going to get them to visualize it, and we're going to visualize it with them as well. Number two is future perfect. So we already talked about, the kid that he didn't want to lose weight. He just wanted attention from girls. And we talked about the dad that didn't actually want to get rid of his back pain. He just wanted to play with his kids. I need to know what that future is. So now we're going to start talking about, when they reach this goal, what does that look like for them? I need to know exactly what that future perfect is, because it's going to steer me towards what's important. How can I properly help them if I don't know what's important? It's like trying to, help someone get to a destination, but you have no idea where they want to go. You're like, BC, great, go west, right? We have no idea, right? It's like, well, no, I want to stop in Banff on the way, and I want to go to Victoria. Great, now I have an idea. I can draw you a map. So it's the same thing. If I don't know where they want to end up as a future life, how can I steer them in the right direction? So I want to know, everything about what this future, they've reached the goal. What does the future life look like? Okay. So some hot areas you can tap into is like, what are they wearing? What do they look like? Who are they hanging out with? How does their work life change? How does their social life change? What are they doing that they've never done before? What are they doing again that they haven't done in a long time? I need to know all of these types of things, but I'm trying to paint a picture of the future. Okay. These two steps in themselves are going to raise the perceived value. We're raising emotion, we're raising the psychological tie to these goals, and we're raising the perceived value of our product or service. Okay. Step number three is prioritize. So visualize, future perfect, prioritize. So in order to get in anything in life, you have to make trade-offs or sacrifices, right? Like, I can't be the president of the United States and run this company and, spend 3 months a year in Australia. Like, this is too much. I can do anything, but I can't do everything. So we need to prioritize. So in this section here, I just want to know if this is important for them. It's a priority for them. And I would like to know what comes ahead of it. A lot of people like to put numbers to that. I've used that strategy too. It works excellent. Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is reaching these goals we just talked about, this future life we talked about to you? When they give me a 7 or 8 or 6 or whatever, I don't tend to judge it. I just write it down. I say, great, it sounds like it's pretty important to you. What in your life comes ahead of this goal right now? That's what I need to know as the coach, right? Because it's their life. They get to make the decisions. They're in the driver's seat. And if you try to tell people to make other things not important that are important to them, that's not going to go over well. You're not going to come across well as a coach. So if Krista tells me, you know what, Jeff, I really want to get in shape, but bowling is so important to me. I'm in a bowling league every Friday night bowl. I'm not giving that up. Right. I'm not going to ask her to. Can we work around that? Yeah, of course we can. But things that are not more important than her goal, I'm going to ask her maybe to make some changes and some sacrifices there, because they're not more important. She said it, not me. I didn't tell her what should be important. She told me, and I helped guide her. So I might get a number. I'll tell her it sounds great, but more importantly, I want to know what comes ahead of it. Things like family come up and work come up and relationships, and that's all good. We can work around that stuff. I just need to know what it is. So as I build my plan moving forward, anything that comes ahead of that on the priority list, I will work around in order to get them to their goal. But when it comes time to get started with the program, if other things that come up that were not on that list, I'm not going to let them get away with those as a coach. I'm going to come back to this conversation at the end when I'm presenting solutions, and I'm going to say, hold on a sec. Krista, like I worked around the bowling, I worked around your work and your family, right? But now you're saying you can't do it because of X, Y, Z. That wasn't on your priority list. What's going on here? Have your priorities changed in the last 30 minutes? Are you feeling scared? What's going on? I'm going to call her on it in a genuine and helpful way because I'm a coach and I want to help to get the best for her. Okay. So that's what these prioritize do. Okay. We set big goals. This process is going to take a little bit of time for you, but we use those three things and we've set big goals. Okay. So the next piece is to go into method. All right. This is a step that is often overlooked. It can be very quick and short in a lot of consults, but it's extremely important. Okay. And method means we're going to agree upon the method for achieving those goals. Not the fact that they're going to buy personal training, not the fact that they're going to sign up for my 12-week program, the fact that the way to get the goals is agreed upon, right? So if you're going to BC and I think you should take a plane, but you tell me you're going to take a skateboard, like we're not on the same page, right? So we got to get on the same page. So when it comes to fitness, sometimes people are going to do diets. Sometimes people are going to do group fitness classes. Sometimes people think they can just swim and get to their goals and things like that. Your enduring method, you're basically confirming that the elements you provide in your service, whether it's an online program or you're a live personal trainer, nutritionist, whatever, you're agreeing upon the method is the method that you provide. If it's not, then why are we going any further, right? So if I sell airline tickets and you're going to take a skateboard and you're dead set on it, like what are we talking about? Okay. So I want to agree upon the method. It can be real quick. It can just be something as simple as like, okay, we've set these amazing goals. What was your thoughts? Like, what do you think that you need to do in order to get to that goal? Right. And a lot of times the clients will just say to you like, well, I'm here because I know I need to work out. I joined the gym. I know I need to work out, or I know I need to change my eating a little bit. Great. We move forward. Right. But if someone says to you like, hey, I'm just going to swim, or, I'm going to do the seaweed diet or whatever, it doesn't matter. That doesn't align, right, with the path that you're providing. Now what you want to do is go into education mode. Okay. So now is here where we need to educate them why resistance training and healthy eating is the best way to achieve their goals. Okay. And I'm not going to go into detail on that. You guys are all fitness professionals. You understand the idea behind, building muscle to lose fat and eating healthy and all that stuff. So I'm not going to talk about that, but you want to agree upon the method through education. Okay. You're going to educate them. And at the end of the education process, you're just going to confirm with them. Does it make sense why it is you should do these things? Is that something that you're okay with trying to achieve your goals? And if they say yes, I'm good to move on. And that's why this section can be very short and quick. It could sometimes take a few more minutes, but it's not to be overlooked or skipped. And the reason is because next we're going to go into our needs and we're going to go into our solutions, but I might be presenting solutions to someone that's going to try the seaweed diet. And I don't know that. I've shot myself in the foot, right? And so that's why this is an important step not to miss at this stage before I move any further. Okay. So now we're going to go from method into need. That's our next step here. So let's pull up a slide to talk about the elements of need. So basically during this step, we're discussing and showing the client the need for your service or product. Okay. So whether you sell a 12-week program, you sell live personal training, online personal training, it doesn't matter. Regardless of the methodology that you provide, you have to create a need. If there's no need for your product, then there's no point in continuing the process with them here. As an example, even if I said to you, I'm going to give you like a $300 really custom, nice barbecue cover. And you're like, Jeff, I don't have a barbecue. Like, you're not going to want it, even though it's free, right? And so there has to be a need for them to get what they want in order to engage with you further. All right. And so a lot of times in the past, especially when I first started in the industry, I don't think it's as prominent anymore, but when I first started in the industry, the need was based on like, you're out of shape. So, people would come in and they say, look, you're out of shape. You don't have a fitness level. And so you need to get personal training. And the reality of it is that's not actually true because, almost everybody can be shown that they're out of shape in some dimension, whether it's like, someone's really jacked, you test their cardio, maybe it's not as good, or someone's, got good cardio and you test their muscle mass. So everybody's going to have some out of shape points in their life. The other thing is that If you don't have a goal, then you don't need to do anything about it, right? So the need starts with relating to the goal, and it's a method. It's basically how are they going to get to the goal? That's how we demonstrate their need, right? So again, if you're going to go to BC, you need to get there somehow. You either have to walk, you got to fly, you got to drive, but you have to get there somehow. What is the vehicle that's going to take you from A to Z? That's where we create the need. They've set goals. We know where they are. What is the vehicle that's going to take them from A to Z? Okay. And I usually start by asking them out and say, okay, we talked about that you're going to do, weight training, nutrition in order to go from A to Z. Do you have a plan? Right? What is your plan around this? What were you going to do? What were you going to try? Tell me, because I'm here to help. And if you have any questions, I want you to ask them to me today. And this is where we're going to go into any sort of assessment that we're going to do. So we're going to interject our assessment techniques into this section so we can demonstrate like where the gaps are in their performance, where the gaps are in their knowledge and their technique, right? So if we do an assessment someone, we're basically showing them, okay, this is where you are right now. You have, let's say, dysfunction, you have pain, your body fat's higher than you wanted to do, or your squat form doesn't look good or whatever. We're basically showing this is where you are now. And based on where you are now, you do need to do something about this to get to that end goal. We need to improve function, get rid of the pain, move better. We need to have a vehicle. We need to do these things on our journey to get to Z. Okay. So I'm not going to go into detailed assessments today. My personal opinion is assessments that show wow factor and assessments that show progress same day are the best assessments to use. Okay. And the reason for that is this. Anybody can promise someone, I'll help you lose weight 6 weeks from now. Anybody can make promises that if you listen to me, you'll get a result, right? And clients have been promised a lot of things before, and they're a little gun shy, right? And so we need to be able to demonstrate them. So wow factor assessments means after you did the assessment, the client goes, wow, I didn't know that. That means they're bought into whatever you're doing. They trust you, right? Assessments that you can show a before and after same day, it shows to the client, I'm not promising you to get a result. I just showed you today within 10, 20, 30 minutes that I can get you a result. They're not at the result yet, but you've demonstrated that I can do this. Okay. And that holds a lot of weight. So whatever assessments that you choose to use during your consultation to look at someone, I'm just strongly suggesting they create some sort of wow factor for the client, and they create some sort of change that they can experience today that is going to let them know they're in the right hands. Okay. In the need category, there's 3 basic things to demonstrate needed. Okay. So take a picture of the slide or write this down. Knowledge, we need to demonstrate that there's a lack of knowledge. They need accountability, and they need someone to help them problem solve. Okay. And we've got our pro tip at the end there, which I'll come back to. Okay. So we're going through this assessment, this consultation with the client. We're going to do some sort of assessment with them and show them where they're at now, where the gaps are in their performance and their abilities and their knowledge. Right. And so now what we're going to do is demonstrate that need. So when we look at lack of knowledge, there's kind of 2 areas for that. Okay. So there's lack of knowledge in technical skills, right? Like I'm not a dentist. I don't know how to properly clean someone's teeth or perform heart surgery. That's a lack of technical skills, right? So in our side of things, a lack of technical skills is, knowing what foods to eat, knowing what time of day to eat them at, knowing which exercises to use, knowing how to perform those exercises so they actually do what they're supposed to do, knowing how not to hurt yourself in the gym. These are all technical aspects of like technique. You just don't have the technical skills to make sure you get the most out of this. Okay. And then the second thing to lack of knowledge is progress or programming over time. Okay. And so we get into periodization as trainers there. It's just like, you're not going to be the same person 6 weeks or a month, 2 months from now that you are now. And so things need to change. They need to understand how to do that. And if they don't, they're going to get lost. So if you're going to Vancouver and I show you the road to get out of Ontario, but you have no idea what road to take in Saskatchewan, you're going to get lost. Sorry, Manitoba comes first. Manitoba. Okay. You're going to get lost. And so the second need that the lack of knowledge that they have is that lack of knowledge of how to change the plan over time. So these are 2 ways that you need to demonstrate to the client that This is why you need somebody guiding you or helping you, or need to get involved in my program. Okay. And so that can take a shape of a lot of forms. I like to just ask people, show me this. I show them things and I demonstrate it to them. You can tell someone a million things, but showing will give you the power for them to understand and make it real. So I asked them, okay, what would you select as exercises? And we discuss whether those are the best exercises for them or not, or what might be better. I asked them to show me the exercises. If someone's got a bad shoulder and an AC problem, I ask them, what exercises would you do to help with this? And they're like, I have no idea. If they say they have no idea, I'm not going to hang them out to dry. Great. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help. Let's look at a couple things together. Right. And I'm going to show them a couple things. And they're like, oh yeah, this is really good. I'm there to help. Right. Obviously in the 20 minutes or 30 minutes I spend with them, I'm not going to be able to show them everything, but I'm going to give them tastes of the types of stuff that I will be able to teach them over the long term. So that's the first thing, is just asking, finding out what they would do, having them show you stuff, and having you, provide the education on how it should be different. Asking questions is powerful. I strongly encourage you, when you're out on the floor with a client, ask first always. Don't start telling. Ask, what would you do here? How would you change that? Can you show me how you would do this? Ask. Get them involved in the process. This is part of the psychological change. If people are being talked at, they're resistant. If they're involved in the process and being asked their opinion, and they see how they might need to change their opinion, they're more willing to change their mind. Okay. So we don't want to talk at people when we're engaging with them. We want to ask and engage them in the process. Okay. And if I'm doing an online consult, I obviously won't have them show me stuff, but I will do the same technique where I'm asking them, okay, I'm going to ask them a question. What would you do here? Okay, great. What's next? Okay, well, what does that look like for you? Right. And then I'm going to educate them on why those may or may not be the best things, and how I might make changes to that to make sure that they get the best possible results. So that's the first step. We're going to create lack of knowledge and need. So they understand I need to learn the technical skills, and I need to learn how to change this plan over time in order to get to my destination goal. Okay. The next piece is accountability. All right. We all need accountability on stuff. So you guys on this call need accountability, and it might not be for fitness. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Maybe it's for doing your taxes. Maybe it's for working on your business. Maybe it's, to make sure you get your meditation in or whatever. But we all need accountability on certain areas of our life. Chances are is that if this person hasn't already achieved their goal, they probably need a little bit of accountability. Okay. And so that's the second need. Everybody needs accountability in order to stick to the process. Okay. Statistics show that scheduled accountability, so you schedule something that you have to show up for, increases the results by 76%. Okay. So scheduled accountability increases the results by 76%. And so we can talk about accountability during the consultation and how this is a really important factor of the program, so that if this is going to take 2 months, 6 months, a year, whatever, that they stay accountable the entire time throughout. Okay. And the third way that we're going to demonstrate need is through problem solving. All right. So along the way, from A to Z, there's going to be problems. So if I'm driving from Ontario or Toronto to Victoria, there's going to be problems. There's going to be road closures. There's going to be traffic. I'm going to run out of gas. My car might break down, whatever. There might be snow. There's going to be problems. So we need to problem solve along the way. So you in your program, your online program, you there as a live support one-on-one with the trainers, you are there to problem solve. Fitness is an individualized process. No two human beings on this call are the same. No two human beings walking around there are the same. Even twins are not the same. Okay. So there's individualized differences. And so they need someone to problem solve for their individualized difference. So when stuff comes up in their life, it could be work stuff. You can make their program shorter. You can make it an at-home program, right? When stuff comes up in their life that's family stuff, you can mentally support them and encourage them. Like, there's a lot of ways you're going to problem solve for a client, but they need this in their life if they're going to get from A to Z. Okay. Because it's so individualized and it needs to be customized. An example of this is this. Studies that show proof of something usually have about a 65% success rate. Okay. So, in order for a study, a research study, to be able to tell you it works, that's around the mark that it needs to work at. Okay. So, if I say to you, HIIT training helps people burn body fat the best, I only need to prove that with 65% of the participants in my study. So, what happened to the other 35%? Did they lose weight? No. They're the outliers, it's called in research. So, what if your client is the outlier to that study? They're going to start doing what the study said to do, and they're going to be an outlier, and they're going to blame themselves. They're going to get hard on themselves. They're going to give up and they're going to quit. It's not their fault. They're an outlier from that study. No modality, no exercise modality, no nutrition tip works 100% of the time. People are outliers. People need customized help. And so that's the reason why you need to be there for problem solving, because if they start their process and they're an outlier, you're going to be there to step in. This isn't working the way I had hoped. Let's make a change and get back on course. Okay. And that's really important part for them to understand. So that's the third way we're going to demonstrate the need for our services. So how we're demonstrating the need for our services is through lack of knowledge in both technical skills and programming long-term. Through accountability, they need accountability to be more successful, and for problem solving and customizing and individualizing the process to what they need to ensure success. Okay. Now, here's the key that I had at the bottom of the slide. Before I move on in my consultation process, I need to confirm they understand the need. Okay. Because I don't want to be, going into presenting solutions and they don't understand why they need help. That's, so to speak, being caught with your pants down. Okay. So I confirm this first. What I would like to say to clients is I just say, when I'm done my assessments and what I'm showing them, or when I'm done my need portion of the consultation, I say to my clients, based on everything we've just covered in the last 20 minutes or whatever it's been, can you see why you're going to need some help to get to goal XYZ? Okay. Or you're going to, based on what we've done today, can you see why you're going to need some guidance? Based on what we've done today, can you see why you're going to need, some knowledge, some education in order to get to this goal? That's all I'm looking for. I'm not asking them to agree to buy personal training at this point in time. I'm just having them confirm the need, that there is a gap there, there. And so the reason I need to confirm that gap is because I might go into presenting solutions, and you guys can be honest with yourselves if this ever happened to you before. And people say, well, I'm just going to try it on my own, right? I'm just going to try it on my own for now, whatever. If I've confirmed the lack of knowledge, I'm going to say, hold on a sec. You just told me that you didn't feel like you knew how to do this, and now you're saying you're going to try it on your own. Share with me what's going on in your mind here, because now I'm going to get to the real objection, because that's not actually the objection. They don't actually want to try it on their own because they just told me they didn't know how to do it. But I can't do that unless I've confirmed that they see the need. If I skip this step, confirming the need, and I start to show solutions, and they say, well, I'm just going to try it on my own, and I say, oh, why are you thinking that? And they say, well, because I don't think I need the help, because I didn't confirm the need. Okay. So it's really important to confirm the need before I move on in my process. Okay. So we're going to be going to now presenting solutions. Okay. Which is our last step in the process, but we'll recap quickly where we've come from. So our steps were building rapport. So using the first 5 minutes or 6 minutes, 7 minutes, whatever it takes to build trust, build rapport, because people buy from people. Number 2, setting big goals. That's using our strategy that we covered to cover emotional goals. Step number 3 is our method, making sure we think that we're on the same page about how they're actually going to achieve these goals, like the basics, weight training, nutrition. Okay. Step number 4 is need, demonstrating the fact of why they need guidance, help, knowledge in order to get to the goal, and confirming that. Okay. And now our next step is presenting solutions. So I'll pop up my slides here again, and we'll look at presenting solutions. So when we are getting into presenting solutions, the first thing that we want to do is remove barriers. Okay. So these are their common barriers you see here. Here's the big three. You might throw in one or two more as part of the big three, but these are the big three that mostly come up. Time. There's two elements to time. Number one, I don't have time to do this. Number two, I don't have time to schedule appointments. Okay. The second one is doubt. Doubt means that not just this, I'm not sure that this will work. It's, I'm not sure that this will work for me, right? Like this might be a good solution for Damien, but he's got better genetics than me. This isn't going to work for me, right? So we have to make sure we're addressing them as an individual, okay? So, and then the third one is support. The support is addressing the spousal, right? Like I have to ask my spouse, I have to ask my parents, I have to ask my boyfriend, my sister, whatever. The fact that they're the decision maker in this process. So we have to remove these three key barriers, because if we don't, they will use them after we have presented our prices as objections. But if we cover them now, we get them out of the way, we get these barriers off the table, it makes it easier to just talk about price, which is ultimately the issue here. Okay, so take a picture of the slide. We're going to remove these barriers, and we're going to ask for permission, and we're going to present. So take a photo of that slide or jot it down, because I'm going to pull this down here and we'll talk about these. So the reason this is important to remove these barriers, as I said, is we want to get them off the table, and we don't want them to be false excuses. Why do I call them false excuses? The reason I call them false excuses is because it makes sense to get a personal trainer. And I said that at the beginning, and I want to explain that now. Okay. So if you signed up for the gym, or you've booked a consultation online with a program provider, or whatever, you have something where you're interacting with this person, that means they want something in the gym. They want something from their health. They want something from their fitness, for their life. That's the whole point of them being there. Okay. And so because of that, having a professional that knows exactly what you need to do just makes sense. It just makes sense. That's true for anything in life. If I need heart surgery, I would want a professional to do that. If I need to fix my car, I would want a professional to do that. Now it comes down to the question of cost. Well, I don't have a lot of money. I would love to go to the dealership, but I'm going to go to my buddy because he's going to charge me $50. And I understand he might not do it as good as a dealership, but I'm making the cost value trade-off here. But it makes sense to have a professional. So the same thing holds true for health and fitness programs. It makes sense to hire a professional. So it's really about, do I want to afford the cost to hire a professional? Of course, a professional is the best way. That is not in question. It is the best way to have a coach, right? It is what they should do. But now it comes off to the trade-off of cost versus how badly I want to reach this goal, okay? And so that's why I say we want to remove these barriers, because it is going to come down to that. At the end of the day, that's the trade-off. Is there enough value in my life? Is this providing enough value in my life that I'm willing to sacrifice a financial resource for it? Okay. So how do we get these barriers off the table? I just ask, right? So when I get into my presenting solutions, we just start with, before we chat about the best possible solutions for you to reach your goal of X, Y, Z, I just want to come back to like when we were talking about when you first came in, you said, you were going to be able to commit 5 hours a week to this program, or you were going to be able to commit, 2 days a week to come in and work out. Is that still the case? And they're going to say, yeah. Okay, great. And I know like bowling's really important to you, or your job or whatever. But if we make it outside those times, you're willing to, stay committed to scheduling that in and stuff. Yeah, great. They're willing to agree to it now because there's no price on the table, versus when you put the price on the table, they may change their tune because they really just don't want to say it's about the money. So they use this as a scapegoat objection. So we're just confirming the time, which we've probably talked about when we first started the consultation. Then we address doubt, right? So based on everything we went through with you today here, can you see why this will work for you? And that can be a simple yes, like, hey, you did a great job. Yes, I see how this is going to be the right way. This is going to work for me. Or they have the opportunity to say, well, I'm not sure, right? Because I have this disorder or this disease, or because I'm on this medication right now, which is impacting it, or whatever. If they have a concern, at least they're bringing it up now before you've put the price on the table and you can address it in a proper fashion. So if the person says to me like, you know, I'm not sure this will work for me, because I will just address it. I will educate them and I will address it, and then I will confirm. So now that I have informed you, I've worked with dozens of people just like you that have been taking this exact same medication. Does it make sense how this can work for you too? Yes, great. Now let's move on. But money's not on the table. We're addressing it beforehand, right? Okay, then we're going to go into number 3, which is support, or the spousal objection, the most common objection. I use it all the time when people are trying to sell me. It's great because it's hard to overcome, okay? But we're going to talk about it right now. So, at the beginning of the consult today, we talked about that your wife knew that you were joining the gym, and, she's supportive of you taking charge of your goals and doing something about it. Yep. I didn't say buying personal training, just your wife is supportive of you taking charge and doing something. That means if you say yes to that, that makes you the decision maker. Okay. That makes you the decision maker, that's what I want. I need you to be the decision maker. That same strategy can apply for parents, sisters, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever. It doesn't matter. But we're just going to say you have the support. They're excited. You're excited. This is in your hands. They want you to move forward and do something about this. And if they say yes, great. Okay. They know you're here today. They know you're doing this, right? And if they say no, right? Like they have no idea, like, no, I did not tell my wife I'm here today. I don't want her to know because I'm a little embarrassed about her, or I don't want her to know what I'm doing. Great. We don't need to tell her. This will just be about you. You're still the decision maker. So I still conquered the same problem. Okay. But we're going to do that. Okay. So I'm going to get those 3 things off the table first. And I'm going to work through them if I need to by addressing them before I'm talking about money. Once I've done that and I've gotten those 3 off the table, I'm going to ask permission to show them prices. Okay. Asking permission gets their buy-in. Okay. So I'm going to say, awesome. I think you're going to be super successful based on everything that I've seen you today. All we have to do is close this knowledge gap and, hold you accountable and whatever, based on these exciting goals of X, Y, Z, is it okay with you if I show you the best ways to make sure you 100% get to this goal? And they're going to say, yeah, of course. Right. Sometimes people say to me, well, I don't know. What does it cost? I can understand your concern with that. Let's talk about it. And I go into my presentation anyways, but I'm going to ask permission to present to them. Okay. And I've never really gotten a no on that. The only thing I've gotten is, well, what does it cost or whatever, which is like, yeah, that's a valid concern. Let's go. And we address it, and we go into the cost. So I'm going to ask for permission to present options. And then I'm going to present the options that I'm going to be showing them. Okay. So statistically proven, the Goldilocks approach is statistically the strongest price presentation approach. That's, been researched in both psychological papers as well as economical research. The Goldilocks approach is 3 options. So you basically have your high option, your middle tier option, and your lower tier option. Okay. And so that's why it's called Goldilocks, right? This one's too hot. This one's too cold. This one's just right. Okay. So that has been proven, showing 3 options statistically to be the best approach for presenting prices. But I'm going to tell you in all sincerity, like I did personal training and health fitness sales for a very long time, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of sales. And I have used a lot of different options. I've presented single option and just sat there in silence. I've done 2 options, this or that. I've done the Goldilocks. I've done a lot of different things, and they can all work. I'm just telling you that the Goldilocks, the 3 options, is statistically the highest proven success across all industries. But, you want to customize the options you show for you, right? So if I work at a gym, I might be able to show 3 packages right off the bat, right? If I run an online 12-week program, it might be just one option that I'm selling, that 12-week program or bust. That's okay. You can do that too. Okay. Or I might have a this or that option, which is like 1 or 2, A or B, whatever. Okay. So you can use any of these options again, just letting you know what the strongest option is all three. You're going to lay out those options. You're going to present them. So based on their permission, they've given you permission to present the prices, and you're going to just lay out the options. Here's your option A, B, and C. You're going to make a recommendation. You're going to say, based on my experience with you today, this is what I recommend, right? And your recommendation can be based on a lot of things, right? It could be based on things that they talk to you about in their finances. It can be based on their skill level. Like, some more basic someone is, the more help they're going to need, right? It can be based on their schedule, right? I'd recommend this because of your schedule or whatever. So, but you're going to make a recommendation. Regardless of what you base your recommendation on, you're going to make some sort of recommendation, okay? And then you're going to give them the sheet, or you're going to show them the options, and you're going to keep your mouth shut and be silent. And now whoever talks first loses, okay? And so you are going to sit there and you're going to smile and you're going to nod, and that's it. And you're going to wait till they say something, all right? And they're either going to pick an option or they're going to give you an objection, okay? An objection is just a concern. It means I have a concern about something. I have concern about price. I have concern about schedule. I have concern about something. And all you're going to do is address the concern, and that's it. Now, I am not going to go into overcoming objections today because that is a massive topic, and it's going to get its own training, okay, on overcoming objections. But I will just say this about overcoming objections is, again, we're keeping silent, and it's either a yes or it's anything else. If it's anything else, the key here is to get on the same team as the client. It's not you versus them. It's you and them to defeat the problem. The problem is they have a goal and they want to get to that goal, and personal training is the best way to do it. How can we together make this happen and defeat this dragon, this boss? Okay. And so that is the goal here. And the reason I say that is this, because a lot of people treat objections like a game of tennis. Okay. Meaning they say, well, I have to talk to my wife. And then you say, well, what do you want to talk to your wife about? And then they say, well, I gotta run the call. That's tennis. So if you're in a tennis match and someone hits the ball and you hit the ball to someone and they're about to hit the ball, what are you doing? You're getting ready to hit the ball back. You're getting defensive. Like, where do I need to be? Right. So if we play a game of tennis during overcoming objections, you guys are just going to keep hitting the ball back and forth because everybody's going to be playing defense and nobody's going to get on the same page. I want to get on the same page. It's me and you versus the problem. So that's going to be acknowledging them and understanding, being curious. Like, why would they say something like that? I wonder. Let's talk about it. What makes you think that? Right? Or what's going on with your thought process? Or why do you feel that way? Like, I just want to truly understand what's going on with this particular person in that situation. So again, although we're not going deep into overcoming objections, my advice to you is get on the same team. I want to talk to my spouse. Of course you do. It's natural. This is a big decision, Now that I've acknowledged and understand where they're coming from, I wonder why they would say that. Is it like the spouse? Is it a money thing? The spouse earns more money? Is it a permission thing? And I'm just going to explore that with them. And I might say, do you think your spouse would be more concerned about the cost, or is it more about you being here away from home and doing the program or whatever? I'm going to find out, why are they saying that? So again, we're getting on the same team to defeat the problem together. And that's what that looks like. And again, we'll go through that in more detail in another training. Okay. So that is optimizing our consultation process. Okay. And so when we look back at where we've come from, basically we want to run down everything we've covered today and then get into some Q&A for those of you that are still here. And so we want to optimize our consultation progress because we can change more lives this way and have more impact. There's so many people coming in, talking to trainers or health and fitness pros, doing consults that aren't sure about getting started or don't know they need to get started. And by optimizing your consult, you can change more lives because you can actually walk them through psychological change to be ready to get started. Okay. And it makes it easier to fill your client roster. And it's a skill you're going to need for the rest of your life. Okay. A good consult needs to have the right mindset behind it. You believing that Everybody needs help with a coach. It needs to increase trust between you and the person that you're working with. It needs to increase perceived value of the product, okay, or service. And it needs to walk them slowly, step by step through psychological change, because that stuff takes time. You can't change someone's mind in just 10 minutes, okay? So how do we do that? We do that by, no matter if you're working with a gym and you have a consult form, or you're on your own, or you have an online program, it doesn't matter what you're doing or how you're selling it. We're going to have these 5 steps in our health and fitness consultations. Okay. We are going to build rapport. People buy from people. Okay. So we're going to build rapport, build trust. Number 2, we're going to set big goals. Big goals means emotional. They're bought in, using our strategies of visualizing, future perfect, and prioritizing. Okay. Then we have to confirm method, that the method that you deliver, usually resistance training and healthy eating, is the method to achieve those goals. Then we have to demonstrate need. We have to have a big need to want to engage in the product or service. And we demonstrate need through lack of knowledge in both skill and programming, through accountability, the success that it creates, and through being able to customize and problem solve for them. Okay. And before we move on to presenting solutions, we confirm that they understand the need for why they need it. Okay. Then we go into presenting solutions. And before we actually present the solutions, we take off the common barriers. Okay. Common barriers being time, doubt, will this work for me? And support. Do I have my spouse's, my mother's support, someone else's support? I'm the decision maker. Okay. And then we present our options. And again, we can use the most common one, which is that 3-tiered option, or we can present a single option. It doesn't matter. And then we'll handle objections as a team, us and them together, to help move forward. Okay. So that's the recap on everything we've covered. I want to address any questions that people have. So if you have questions on creating a consultation that converts at a very high level, or anything around consultations and gaining clients, throw it in the chat. And while you guys think of something and throw it in the chat, I had a question from Chris at the very beginning that I'm going to address first, is that, do you find a waiting list? People tend to lose motivation, find other people to train them. You end up losing that lead. Yeah, I mean, a waiting list is going to come with its problems. The more you advance your career, the easier it is to create a waiting list, because you're building a reputation. So if I'm a brand new trainer in year 1, it's harder for me to create a waiting list than it is for someone that has a reputation and says, no, I want to wait to work with Chris because he's a level 5 trainer. He's got this reputation and da-da-da. I know he's really good at this. Okay. And so it gets easier as your reputation and your what you're able to actually provide for people, it grows. The second piece is that what are you doing with that waiting list, right? So the more people you put on a waiting list, if I put 50 people on a waiting list versus 5 people on a waiting list, chances are when I have room, I'm going to have someone say, yes, I'll take that spot, because there's 50 of them. Maybe 5 or 10 people have moved on, but out of the 50, some people have not, right? So the bigger your waiting list, the more opportunity that someone says, yeah, I'm going to step up and take that spot. So you constantly create a waiting list at all times in your career. And maybe some people leave and don't engage, and maybe some do, but I'm not concerned with that, because I'm creating volume and the right people will stay and step up. And then the last piece to that is, can you provide them some sort of value while they're waiting? Okay. And so providing value while they're waiting, you could sell them a lower priced package to work with another trainer. And when your spot opens up, they can upgrade. You can provide them programming. So let's say I'm an independent trainer and I have my own operation going, and you're working out at my studio. You want to train with me at my studio. I can basically say, look, I'm going to let you use the studio. The hours were open. I'm going to set you up with programs. I'm going to provide that to you at a very low cost of XYZ. So I'm getting paid to program for them. And they're going to come in and do the program on their own. And if I'm free, I'll give them some tips here and there or whatever. I'll guide them. I'll answer their questions, but I'm providing some sort of value for them while they wait. Another way to provide value for people while they wait is put them on, put them in a newsletter chain, meaning like, I'm going to put you in my private group, right? And so my private group could be like, Chris's fitness people and whatever. or I can come up with like a really witty name for it. And in that group, they're getting tips, once a week, once a month, every 2 weeks, here's 3 tips for losing body fat. And here's an exercise you should try this month. And, here's a cottage program you can try on your own. And I just slowly nurture them to help them, encourage them to stick around in some way. So providing value to people while they wait is a good way to have them stick around. But at the end of the day, if I build enough big enough waiting list, then I'm not going to be as concerned because it's about creating volume. It can be tough to say no to people, but you also have to create balance in your life. And that looks different for everybody. When I first started my career, I worked over 200 hours a month of service time with clients on the floor, right? And that was a lot. And it burnt me out a little bit and it was tough. But when you're in the beginning of your career and you're in your 20s, maybe that's what you do. If you're good to go, you go. And maybe at a different stage of your career and you have kids, you're like, no, these are my windows. I got to go pick up my kids. And maybe at a different stage of your career, your situations change. And so it's okay that the hours that you're taking on clients change over time. There's nothing wrong with that. It just has to suit your business model and what you want for your life. And so we have to get good at just saying no outside of those windows, unless you really feel motivated to help that person for some reason, right? And that's up to you. But I would say 80-20 rule. If I'm full, I'm going to say no to 80% of people. And that once in a while that I really want to help someone, I'll make an exception for them. But I do have to say no to 80%, because if I'm saying yes to 80%, it's no longer a rule. And so I might as well throw it in the garbage and just work whenever people want me to. So that's kind of how I use it. And I say, look, I'm really sorry. I'm full right now. But I can get you started with another trainer. I'm going to be, I worked with this guy for a few years. He's really good. And when I'm ready, I'll let you know I have a spot and I'll tell him that I'm, if you want to stay with him, great. Or I'll put you on the waiting list or whatever. I'm going to say no, but say no in a very professional and empathetic way that's going to allow them to still think I'm a great human being and get some value from me. So that is the waiting list question. Are there other questions that people have popped up on creating an amazing consult? Okay. I'm also, what I'm going to do now, because I know some people are having to jump off, I post all these recordings to my YouTube channel. It's only got a few videos on it of this type of nature of business coaching stuff. But in order to get the link to those videos, you could search my YouTube channel under my name, but you have to be on the personal training business support email list. And so if you want those recordings, so I'm just going to pop the URL in it, and you basically just enter your name and your email, and then you'll get the links to the further trainings, and you'll also get the links to any of the replays that I do. So I'm popping the URL in there right now. I've tried to send it to the waiting room. Meeting group chat. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I popped the URL in. So that is personal training business support, where I send out like training links and the video links to the recordings and some other stuff. So if you want to get the replay link, you can rewatch everything. The slides will be there with it, and you can see all that information in more detail, take more notes, or just hear it again to really help it absorb. But you have to be on this email list to get the link. So just make sure you do that. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop